Are you ready? The Cornelia Stephanie Show. Wake up to love, your call to action. Join Cornelia as she empowers others to live heaven on earth. Cornelia teaches listeners how to be the authority over yourself, embracing your inner guru. Feel yourself uplifted into limitless expansion, integrating ease and grace in a changing world. This show will cover topics such as unconditional love, your physical body, how to be in extraordinary relationships, create financial and emotional wealth, embracing entrepreneurship in the new earth. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Cornelia Stephanie Show. It is that time of month when I get to meet with my friends, my Palladian friends, like I like to call them, Pia and Colin. Are here. Hello, welcome to the show.
Thank you. We're excited to be back with you again.
We're always happy to be part of this conversation with you.
Thank you. It's great to be with you today and begin this month of May. It's already, what is it? The 4th of May, moving into, it just seems like time is flying by. How are you all faring well with all of that?
We don't notice time so much anymore. We live so much by the Palladian Earth energy calendar that we notice the energy that is present. And we are in the middle just about of the choosing energy for 13 days of choosing energy. And oh boy, are people having to make a lot of choices right now. So we notice the energy in relationship to what's going on in the world. And it's interesting.
Our days run together. We're basically not really understanding or knowing whether it's a Monday or a Wednesday or a Friday. We are just living the energy that presents itself, as Pia just said. And if someone calls us or emails us and talks about the day of whether it's a Monday or a Tuesday, we have to look at each other and go, we didn't know it was Monday or Tuesday. So the flow for us, the flow of energy is really how we're living our lives.
Yeah, because this is what you are aligned with, that teaching, that you are aligned with that. And so now, and you're living in a space of timelessness, right? And
yes.
you know the old construct of time and how programmed that is and what people live by. And then, you know, the new way, the harmony way, the way of truth of living in timelessness. So I know what you mean by totally, not knowing what day it is. It's always like, oh my gosh, wow, because we still have to show up for things, we still have to show up for that appointment and, for scheduling things just like we did here this morning. So it's interesting to play with time, but isn't it nice when we can just how do you see that playing out in the future? How do you see that?
Well, I can tell you how we're doing it now and what it's evolving into. We've, as Cullen just said, we've completely lost the concept of the 7-day week, Monday through Sunday. That doesn't exist for us anymore. We don't have weekends off or certain days that we do certain things. Because we work with people in Europe, in America, in Asia, in Australia, and in Africa, when someone wants an appointment with us, we immediately look to see what time it will be in their country, put down what time it is in our country, and then we write that in the calendar, regardless of the day. We just flip over to whatever time, day, energy period they've asked for the appointment. And then we put down the notation of the time. So we are still a little bit under the guise of time for keeping appointments. But outside of the things that are scheduled on the appointment book, we have absolutely no sense. We eat when we're hungry. We sleep when we're sleepy. There is no schedule, daily schedule anymore for us. And how I see that moving into the future is organically flowing into the natural beings connected to nature we were always intended to be.
So what I think what we're evolving into and what we're helping other people with the books that we write and the calendars we have designed, we're trying to help people understand that being in concert or being in connection with nature is really our true and absolute nature. I mean, that almost sounds like a pun. I don't mean it to be, but maybe I said it on purpose. But nature really is our biological clock. It really is the cycling pattern of who we are, to be in the right energy, to greet the particular energy that comes towards us. So it's exceedingly important to understand that nature is probably our best guide. And if we formulate our lives around nature, things are much, much more filled with grace and flow than they are if we simply look at a Gregorian calendar and say, well, yes, I have to do this on this day. I have to remember to do this on the next day. As you said, Cornelia, we do have to keep appointments. That is a responsible and professional way of living our lives. However, it doesn't really fit within the cycles of nature. And so one of the wonderful things about our calendar is we include the Gregorian date and the Palladian energy so that we can remember, oh yes, we do have an appointment on this day and we must fulfill that. So we're living between both calendars at this point. And I think what Pia meant a minute ago is we will be evolving into stepping away from the Gregorian calendar altogether.
Mhm.
Yeah, and that's what's going to be really, really nice when we can really fully step away from that calendar.
Yes.
When do you feel that this is going to be? Like, do you think 5 years? Do you feel 10 years? What do you feel?
Well, I think we're introducing that concept to people now. The Pleiadian Earth energy calendar, unlike the Gregorian calendar, the energy changes in nature at sunset. So right now, people who claim their birthday according to the Gregorian date, the division line is midnight, and that may not actually match the energy of when they were born at all. So through the Pleiadian Earth energy chart work that I'm doing, I'm helping people to discover what their own energy is. And as they discover what their own energy is and how to relate to the energy that's present every day, more and more people are evolving into not using that Gregorian timeline of midnight. So it's already globally beginning to catch on. I can't give you an estimate of when I think we'll be away from that, because there are powers that do try to still control and manipulate us through time, through money, through schedules. Any way you want to look at it, there are those who would like to manipulate us. So I think it's up to us how we move away from the manipulation of structure into the freedom of nature.
And there's a really interesting thing that's going on right now with all of the lockdowns and all of the regulations and mandates around the COVID-19 issue. We're now into almost a year and a half of this going on. Having people be at home more, having people not going to work on a regular basis, having people communicating with each other in a completely different way, that is actually helping humanity or society move towards a less regimented, a less regulated time scale. So in a way, it's very interesting that P and I developed this calendar. We worked on it for many years before we decided it was perfected enough to bring to the public. And we brought the first calendar out in 2019. Well, between 2019 and 2021, the whole world has changed. And the way people live their lives is actually much more connected to this calendar system than the old system, because they can't do what they used to do because of what COVID has brought to society. So in a way, bringing this calendar to the public when we did was one of those, let's say, accidental, absolutely on purpose timings, so that people could use the calendar to navigate their lives in a much different way that's more connected to the amount of time they're spending at home or with their families or their friends.
We also had one of those intuitive, without a reason, aha moments when we said, let's make this an 18-month calendar. So it actually stretches all the way into June of 2022.
Oh,
So
that was great.
that's even something else. It takes it away from the structure of 12
Yeah.
months in a year. This
Yeah.
is an 18-month calendar. That's numerologically, that's a 9, which is harmony.
Yeah.
So more and more with every calendar we do and every chart that I do and every person we talk to about this system, we're helping people to return to nature and natural cycles.
And really that's what it's all about, is
Yes.
coming back in harmony with nature and listening to that inner guidance, you know, what it is that connects us to nature, and trusting that and evolving that.
Absolutely.
For I want to say, the last decade, I have organically been, waking up without a clock, without an alarm clock. So that has organically happened. So now I don't set an alarm clock. My alarm clock is my body. And that's the clock. I can ask my body, I want to wake up at this particular point in time. Like this morning, I need to wake up at 4 o'clock, 4 a.m., because I need to go out and connect with nature before I have this conversation. And we're meeting at 7:30 a.m. And so, and I like to, be out there for like an hour, maybe more sometimes in the morning before I even get started, because again, that is the opportunity to connect with nature and living that organic lifestyle of what it is that we're talking about here, and wanting more of that, right? And so then when now with the light staying light longer, it's hard because I'm tired by 6 o'clock and it's still so light outside, and it's like, oh man, it was great in the winter time because then you could just also go wake up with the light, it's still when it's dark, but also go to bed when it's dark outside,
Yeah.
with the
Yeah. Well, what you're bringing up, what you're talking about right now is getting back to listening to our body wisdom, because our bodies know when to get up. Our bodies know when to go to sleep. Our bodies know what to eat, when to eat. And society has become so sped up for so many reasons that we have stepped away from these natural cycles. And it's amazing that our bodies are working at all because of all the things we've done to the detriment of the health of our bodies. And I used to talk about this years ago. We've been involved with technology since the Industrial Revolution started approximately 300 years ago. The beginning of machines, the beginning of technology really is 300 years old. And our psyches have not caught up even yet today with that extreme explosion of all of the inventions, all of the things that have sped us up, sped us up, sped us up. Our psyches are still wanting to be in a naturally based, organic, functioning human body. And so staying up extremely late because of electric lights, doing all the things we do that we think are either necessary or simply fun.
Priming ourselves with caffeine to keep going when the body's saying, please give me a break. Yeah.
There's so many things that we do that are antithetical to actually taking care of our bodies. And so when we begin to do what you're doing and just allowing your body to tell you, I need to get up at this time, I need to be in the pattern or in the cycle that's the healthiest for me. And it's really hard for humans to let go of habits and things that we have put into place for so long that makes our bodies go beyond their endurance. And that's one of the reasons why so many people are filled with dis-ease, because they're not listening to what their body wants and needs. So P and I talk about nature a lot whenever we speak, and it's exceedingly important to realize that we are nature, and if we don't respect that part of ourselves, we're not really going to be the whole functioning humans that we have been and that we need to be.
There's a new element that's been added to this conversation also, and that is on our changing planet, in our changing magnetosphere, we are having cosmic weather that is absolutely setting new requirements for us to rest, to properly eat, to do all the things that we need to do that this human body needs to be in its most optimal condition. The cosmic weather, when it pummels us with too many cosmic rays, can make us tired, disoriented, have stomach distress, all kinds of things. So it's like the entire universe is screaming at us, get out of your patterns. They're not functional. They're not in alignment with nature. We're going to shake you up until you realize what's important. So people are reporting to us from all over the world, all of these symptomologies that happen when the KP index is too low or too high and the cosmic rays are coming in, when the Schumann resonance shoots way off the chart and our planet is vibrating at a different frequency. People are saying, what am I supposed to do? And the bottom line is always go to nature, go to nature.
And part of going to nature, whether we go and walk outside amongst the trees or water or whatever we do, part of nature is also simply quieting down. Yeah. We don't have to be in nature per se physically to be part of nature, because we are nature, it's part of us. Being quiet, whether that's through meditation or simply sitting and listening quietly to our guidance or our intuitive understanding, quieting down is essential at this point, because we're being bombarded not only with what Pia just explained, but there's too much visual and too much auditory stimuli now on this planet. We are constantly listening to or watching things that some of those energies may be absolutely wonderful for us, but we don't give ourselves a break between listening or watching. We continually are in a loop of doing that over and over again all day long while we're in the waking state. And I think the idea of quieting down is something that's so necessary. It's so important for us. We can't regulate, or we can't balance, or we cannot live within harmony unless we slow down and spend some of our time in absolute quiet.
You know, it's so important having this conversation, talking about this. I love the organic, how we just went into this because we didn't plan talking about this specific thing. And here we are. And, you know, the ascension that's happening here on the planet for all of us, we have to make space for it. We have to make space to allow the light that's coming in, that, like you said, Pia, that is shaking things up so that the density, the old carbon dioxide, can be released and let go, and that the new light can then come in and be, in that space. And so with that is, there's always I like to call it, a resting period, but also it's like sometimes, it's taking out the trash, is releasing and letting go what's no longer serving. A lot of it, because we're letting go of lifetimes of lifetimes of lifetimes of lifetimes of programming. And, so it depends on where you are in your awakening and state of, just knowing that you're releasing and letting go, allowing the light to come in and, fill your body with that light. Just yesterday, I was talking with one of my clients who, she called me an energy sensei. And she said, something happened after our conversation. You enlightened me with being able to talk to my body and being able to talk to myself. She said, you enlightened me with that conversation. So you're helping me with that. She said, because when we had our conversation, it wasn't announced yet that she had COVID. The test came back, like, I guess 24 hours later. But before, when we were on and she was telling me what her symptoms are and what was going on, I was intuitively just, offering to her on what she can do to raise her immunity, to raise her immune system, and what she can do now. And that is to talk to her cells, and of course rest and all of the things. But she sent me a text and she said, I'm calling you my energy sensei because you've enlightened me with a new awareness that I have now, that I can talk to the cellular memory in my body, and I can talk to my cells, and I can become intimate with them. And this is exactly what we're doing when we're out in nature, is like you said, Colin, nature is part of us. We are nature. It's all the same. We are one. And so talking and listening and being quiet and allowing the nourishment, the light, the quiet to, fill us up. And just nothing else needs to be done in that time, in that space.
It's simply a space of rebalancing and listening. And we repair ourselves.
Yes.
During that time. It's interesting. Medical science says we only repair while we're asleep. And I don't think that is quite accurate, because meditation is not sleep. Being quiet and listening to our guidance or our intuition is not being asleep.
Neither is walking in a forest or at the beach.
Yeah, so I think you're absolutely right, Cornelia. I think that time is so important because it's conscious time. It's being connected. Some people would say it's being connected to source. Some people would say it's being connected to the ground of being. It doesn't matter the term, but we're actually stepping away from the hurried, complex lifestyles that we all lead and live. And we're actually regenerating and replenishing by doing those things. So it's essential that people spend part of their conscious waking day in those states of relaxation, meditation, whatever, prayer. It doesn't matter what term we use, but being in that space while we're awake probably is just as important as the repair and the regeneration that happens when we're asleep.
Yeah, and this is so good, because this is exactly when a lot of people, this is one of the topics that I wanted to bring up today. Was I hear a lot of people say, when are we going to get to 5D? When are we going to get to 5D? Where is 5D? When is that going to happen? When is that going to happen? And a lot of people are looking for the 5D outside of themselves, like it's going to be presented to them, or they're going to show up at a gate and walk in and, hi, welcome to the 5D, and not realizing that the 5D, and I'm going to link this straight to this conversation with the meditation, is in the quiet, is a state of consciousness.
Absolutely.
The 5D is a state of consciousness that is experienced moment to moment to moment to moment. And when are we going to get to the 5D is when the majority of the people on planet Earth are in that state of consciousness, are holding it. But there's certainly people that are living in 5D right now, because I can tell you I am.
Yes.
And I know you are.
You're giving me goosebumps, because we understand exactly what you're talking about.
Also, the inner is what creates the outer. So waiting on the outer to come to you before you change the inner is completely backwards.
It is. And And one thing our friends Larkma have talked to us about and the public for such a long time is we're in transition. We're ever moving towards other dimensional understanding, other dimensional experiences. It's as you said a moment ago, it's not a portal or a stargate or an opening or a vortex that's going to snap open one day and everybody's going to wake up and say, oh, we're here. It's a process that we're going through that it may seem gradual to some and it may be more accelerated for others, depending on where the person's conscious understanding is at the moment. But it's an ongoing process that we can be part of in every moment, in every living current moment. We can be experiencing that. And you know, people talk about brain fog, people talk about lethargy, people talk about not feeling normal. Well, part of that has nothing to do with anything other than many of these people that speak about this, they're actually traveling dimensionally.
It's
And
nothing to do with anything other than multidimensionality.
exactly.
It's all multidimensionality. We talk to people across the planet who are having 5D, 6D, 7D, 9D, and on and on and on experiences, weaving in and out, or waving in and out, would probably be more accurate, of the third dimensional experience, because time doesn't exist. And this experience is a waving in and out of different dimensions. That's what it's all about. And that's why Larkma focuses on multidimensionality rather than the linear progression. Oh, we're at third, now we're going to fifth, then we'll go to sixth. It's not a linear progression. It's a spiral of wave energy, and we are waving in and out of all the dimensions as each of our DNA strands opens.
Oh, go ahead, Cornelia.
Well, I was going to say, you know, when we can define for ourselves what does it mean to be in the 3D? What does it mean to be in the 5D? What does that mean? We know that fear is in the third dimension. And so anytime that you are in fear, or that you're in panic, or there's anything like there's stress, or there's any of these things, you know, the person, to decide and define what 3D means to them, and then decide and define what 5D, peace, you know, joy, bliss, calm. You know, people are always saying, gosh, you know, you're so calm. In, you know, because I live in that state of being, because I live in the now. And when we live in the now, it's going to be directly linked to living in timelessness, because time doesn't exist in the now. In the now, there's only now. And in the now is the place, the vibration that I'm feeling is calm and peace and consciousness and being awake and knowing and intuiting and listening. All those wonderful qualities. That's 5D. And when a person over the years can integrate that level of consciousness into their everyday experience, life in living, that's how 5D is lived and experienced.
Yes.
Yeah, we agree with that. And I would expand on it a little bit to take the human languaging of this is 5D into this is multiple dimensionality. Larkma did a live international call several months ago where they discussed the different dimensions, and they named aspects of everything you have just named and said, that's a part of this dimension. That's a part of that dimension. For instance, sixth dimension is about flow and freedom and movement and teleporting and being able to connect telepathically. That's all sixth dimensional stuff. So they gave specifics for each of the dimensions and said, begin to talk about multidimensionality rather than your human necessity to categorize things as this is this and only this. Talk with more freedom about multidimensionality. Yep. So we're speaking about multidimensionality all the time now. Yeah. Sometimes we don't know which dimension we're in, but we're certain it's not the third.
Right. Exactly. And I think this is a big piece is, you know, because again, when I hear people say, when is the 5D going to be here? When is the 5D going to be here? This was the reason why I wanted to have this conversation is, you know, to bring the awareness to, even because a lot of these people that are asking these questions are light workers. These are, because who else is saying it? It's not the third dimensional consciousness of people that are going, when is the fifth dimension going to get here? So it's, you know, it's the light workers. So light workers take responsibility for your energy, and I would take responsibility for your energy and realize that you are the fifth dimension in consciousness in your everyday experience. And the more people that join us in that party, which is what we're doing here, having these wonderful enlightening conversations when we're talking about truth and you know, all the wonderful things that we're doing to assist ourselves and the earth as we're rising in frequency and in vibration. This is what we're doing here to, you know, assist each other, to remember the truth of who we are, to, you know, live in harmony with nature, to experience peace on earth.
Yes, yes. I have a, I don't know whether to call it an analogy or a metaphor, but when I was a young man, after I finished my university studies, I became incredibly interested in the death and dying process. And I spent a lot of time with the current people at that time. This would be back in the early 70s, when there was so much research going on around the world about the experience of moving from life through death to the next assignment or the next mission. And I spent a tremendous amount of time with dying people. And one of the things I was able to understand, which is absolutely connected what we're talking about right now about dimensional shifts, was I was able so beautifully to experience with the dying when they were moving in and out of consciousness in their process of beginning to leave their bodies, coming back and being lucid and being verbal, but then moving back into this timeless, elastic place where they would tell me while they were there or after they came back, they would explain to me what they had experienced. And it was the most lovely, most beautiful place that they were experiencing. And I'm realizing now that they were simply dimensionally shifting. They were going to a place that was not 3D, not something they had lived during their terrestrial life, but they were moving on into a greater, much bigger scope of understanding of the whole cosmic picture. And I was able to put those experiences, listening to these people together over and over again. I was involved in this work for several years. And I knew intrinsically that they were shifting dimension, but I didn't know how to explain it. I didn't know what words to put to it. But in discussing this with the three of us now and your audience, I now understand way more clearly what they were doing. And they were actually propelling themselves into other dimensions, and they were seeing things. One gentleman, a man that I had known for years, who was an amazing astrologer, he said, "Cullen, I had no idea what was on the other side. I had no idea how big it is, how complex it is, how wonderful it is." And his understanding of his experiences in another dimension opened me up to my understanding that what we're living here is not the whole picture.
I wanted to add something too, if I may, and that is, I'm sparked by your theme, bringing heaven to earth. There's a saying that's attributed to Christ of the kingdom of heaven is found within. And the same thing has been said by Muhammad, by Buddha, by Lao Tzu, by many, many different masters of various teachings have said the same thing. But I'd like to add Cornelia Stephanie to the list, saying the fifth dimension, sixth dimension, and the seventh dimension are found within. They're not out there somewhere. Exactly. I think it is really important, deep knowing to recognize that, not looking for it as a portal or a timeline, but looking within the self to find it. I think that's really key.
It is key. And thank you for saying that. You know, I wrote an article about the new human and how we don't have to die to go to heaven. We don't have to die to go to heaven. That heaven, again, heaven on earth is this, the earth is already here. And heaven is a state of consciousness, a holiness in the consciousness when we're open and we're communicating with nature and we're communicating with source and we're communicating with the oneness of all, we are in heaven. And if we bring that consciousness to our earth, to when we make choices. You talked about choices when we opened the show, P. I still want to touch on that a little bit before we close today, because I know a lot of people are faced with choices. When we make our choices with that level of consciousness, the heavenly consciousness, because the earth is already here. The earth is your body, your physical body. And this is my body.
Mm-hmm.
This is my body. And you see how the roots are? We talked about the roots, right? And this is, I didn't even want to put any leaves on it because I really like this tree. And I am one with this tree. And this is what the tree of life. To me, this is the tree of life. And it is, you know, knowing that I am at one with the earth, knowing what my conscious awareness, all that deep work that you talked about, bringing heaven to earth, bringing source energy into that 0 point moment when you're making a choice, when you're choosing again, when you're having a realization, when you're enlightening something, bringing light to it. You know, so once you get to that state of awareness, you become realized in who you are, because that's part of that deep inner work, is knowing who you are. And when always exploring, who are you? Who am I now? Who am I now? What's my purpose here? And one of my quotes that I'm bringing to the show today is one that I just came up with the other day, and I love this one so much. And it's, be purposeful and be intentional with what you want to bring to fruition. Let's get it.
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
That's good. That's very good. That showing us the tree brings back a memory for me. I once had an amazing, what I call a cosmic consciousness experience. I connected with a tree, and what I was given, what I was told, was that the roots are just as important as the limbs. The roots in the ground and the limbs in the air are a mirror for each other, and that it helps us understand that everything is connected. Everything, every energy is connected. And that experience was a phenomenal awakening for me. It allowed me to understand a much bigger cosmic or universal understanding using the symbol of the tree. And I got from that how important all the symbolism over the centuries, the eons of the tree of life, what it was really trying to show us, really trying to show humanity that it's almost like the old saying, as above, so below. It's the same understanding.
Yeah, and do you see how even the top is pretty much similar to the bottom, but
Exactly.
you know, these are the roots, right? And this was intuitive to draw, but I want to tell you about my dream that I had recently. So in the dream, I was on the right side of the branch. I was like hanging over here in the dream. I was hanging there, and I'm looking down onto the ground, and I'm going, oh my God, how am I going to get down? Because the body, I was up there on this right branch, the body felt so heavy. And I'm like, oh my God, how am I going to get down? And I looked down and I thought, well, I could just jump. And if you jump, Cornelia, you do realize you might have some broken bones, but you can get down. It didn't occur to me that, maybe go back the way I came. It didn't occur to me at all to, maybe go back the way I came. But interesting that I was on the right branch of a large tree, looking on how to get down. And I thought that was interesting because really bringing my boots to the ground, right? Coming back to earth, coming back to the ground. And it was interesting. So I'm hanging there. And just when I was contemplating, how am I going to get down? And I could jump and I could get down with that same energy that we have before we come incarnate. I want to go down. I want to go down. I want to participate on earth. I want to be here. I want to help raise the vibration. It doesn't occur to you about money problems you're going to have. It doesn't occur to you about any of these other things because you're so dedicated and committed to coming down onto the ground. And we came here to play. We came here to do this, to participate in this amazing cosmic, beautiful game of life, right? That we're living. And so all of a sudden I'm there, going, oh, I could jump. And all of a sudden the wind came, lowered the branch and boom, put me down.
Perfect.
That's great symbolism.
That's a great
That is a great symbolic understanding of what we're doing here.
That was such a fun. I woke up, I'm lying in bed. I start cracking up because the wind. And of course, I love the wind. I am the wind, right? So, right.
It's an element. It's
breath of life.
It's an element of nature.
It is, it is. And this, again, it's an element of nature. And when we realize that we are one with nature and that we also can affect nature. Did I say that right? Affect nature, that our energy can work with nature. I'm sure you've had experiences in your life where you affected nature with your being and your consciousness, where not to say that the sea parted, but maybe the clouds went away and maybe the sunshine came and maybe the rain stopped, things like that, right?
Yes, absolutely. And not just affecting nature like that, but when we have a conversation with a tree, or when we have a conversation with another living being from another kingdom, we are affecting the energy of that communication, because these other kingdoms desperately want to talk to us. They want to communicate. It's just that humanity, for the most part, has lost that connection to actually have a conversation. And when Pia and I are out in nature, we simply have conversations with almost every element that we come across. And it's a circular energetic experience. And everybody can do this, but we have to go back to being quiet and being able to listen very closely, very quietly. They want to speak. They want to communicate.
You know what else is so great? This reminds me, because I had that thought earlier, and that is, for me, I've stopped listening to music in my car for like the last decade, right? That also changed. So when I started really going organic in my style of living, lifestyle, and I stopped listening to music in the car, where before I used to always have CDs and put the CDs in or listen to music. And I really wanted to hear my thoughts. I wanted to be quiet and just would welcome. I remember when I used to, when that was just a beginning of getting into the car and not putting on the radio or, the CDs, and how much I was yearning for that quiet. And so now I can't even imagine driving in a car. It's completely different, because I love the quiet so much.
We understand. And that's interesting, because that gives us the opportunity to share something. We also have done that for years. And something happens to us. If we're driving long distance and we don't listen to music or any noise in the car, we're able to bend time and we get to our destination faster because we're connected to all the energies and we're not thinking mentally about the music or about the spoken word.
Or reading the road signs or
Or any-
watching the clock
or
any
anything.
of those third dimensional aspects. We are somewhere else and the car cooperates in the same way.
So
it's great.
we have turned some very long distance drives into much shorter experiences through doing exactly what you're describing.
Yeah, I absolutely, I totally can resonate with what you're saying with the, you know, being able to get there faster. And again, being on the road again, being quiet in the car, going on an adventure, and allowing the adventure to carry you, allowing the wind to carry you, allowing the experience to carry you. I have something else I want to show you, talking about the 5D. What does that say?
5D or bust, 11.
Yeah, so this was assured that, you know, those light workers, those of us back in the day, like in 2011, when we were like working, like again, looking at that timeline, like when is the 5D going to get here? We've been working on this for a long time. So that's why sitting here telling you that the 5D is a state of consciousness. It's an integrated state of consciousness that any person can experience at any moment, that is responsible with their energy and know how to work with energy and know where they are in their consciousness. That's how it is. When will the world be there? You know, we are patiently practicing lots of patience, because yes, that's one thing we have to have too, is patience, because when will the people wake up? When will everybody get on board? And
It's all
so
about choice, Cornelia. It's all about choice.
It's really interesting to watch consciousness within individuals, because we're all moving towards the same thing. We're all in the same school. We're all in the same boat. And yet some people, we don't know exactly why, but we think we might know why.
We have an idea.
We have an idea. Some people are accelerating more quickly in their conscious development than others. But one thing we have to keep always in mind through non-judgment is everybody develops at their own pace and their own rate. And we cannot think or demand that everybody wakes up at exactly the same time, because that just doesn't work. It doesn't happen.
Each person has a choice of what they want to do and how they want to do it and when they want to do it. And we have to honor that they have that choice and the responsibility for the repercussions of that choice. And choice is really, really the key element that we're living in right now. We're in choosing energy, right in the middle of it. Cullen and I are pretty much convinced that the division between choice right now, the different choices that people are making, have to do with those who are choosing out of fear and those who are choosing out of love. Because the ones who are choosing out of fear are listening to the media. They're not investigating for themselves or checking out for themselves the truth of what's being presented to them. Those that are choosing out of love have confidence and faith and trust that the body is an amazing, amazing thing. All of these cells have a tremendous immunity and have the ability to overcome sickness or dis-ease, no matter what form, if we just do what it needs and nurture it. There is no such thing as something that's going to wipe us out or annihilate us if we pay attention to the energy of love and trust and listen to what our bodies say. So honoring that the body has wisdom, making the choice that you don't need to take something that is an experimental energy into your body, that there's no evidential proof that it will provide the protection that you need from what you fear. having the energy of trust that you don't need to do that puts you in the higher consciousness state, which automatically boosts your immunity and helps the body fight anything you may be coming up against. Sinking into, oh no, I have to do this because they've told me I have to, and it's going to protect me, is just adding more fear into the body of I'm not going to be okay if I don't do what I'm told.
So there's several things that are happening. You know, a lot of people have made their choice. A lot of people have chosen to take, you know, to get their jabs. To, you know, a lot of people have chosen that, and then there's a few people that haven't. And those people, I think, are pretty solid in they're not going to, it wouldn't even occur to them, this is not even a consideration. But, you know, this is where I am, that there was never any part of my being that had me thinking otherwise. And I really truly believe it is because of where I am in my consciousness, where I am in my life, the work that I've done, and also with the belief and knowing that I live my life by the body has the ability to heal and regenerate itself. That's my number one thing. So it's not even something I think about, but choices are made subconsciously now based on that principle.
Yes.
So choices are made subconsciously. So I'm making choices based on that, and I have to be true to my own ecology and my own nature.
Absolutely.
Everyone has to be true to their own ecology and their own nature, but allowing a subconscious program that you are unaware of to dictate choice by choice by choice, rather than having conscious choices that are there in the present, built upon the foundation of spiritual growth, is what's causing the chasm between the two groups.
Yeah, well, and then again, now the other thing that this is bringing up right now, what I'm hearing, I don't know if you guys have heard this. So now there's people that are, you know, made aware of, you know, the people that have taken the vaccine, and the people that didn't take the vaccine, if they're around people that have taken it, that actually, you know, it's not good for them to be around those people. And that's also creating that division and all of that. So
It doesn't have to create from fear, though.
yeah.
Wisdom does not have to invoke fear. There is medical evidence that those who have been inoculated can transmit, not necessarily COVID, but can transmit other organic things to other people. There's medical evidence for that, and there's proof of people who are experiencing symptomology without having taken the jab. So that's just the truth. It's something that's there.
Well,
you know, afraid of that either. We just need to continue to trust the body, take our own precautions, and make conscious choices. Do I want to give a big hug to somebody who's just received something that could be transmitted to me? Probably not. Am I going to love them and give them good energy anyway? Absolutely.
yeah.
It's a compassion and honoring other people's choices while protecting your own space and your own body's guidance.
And I think that's the key. Again, taking responsibility, bringing that awareness that you are the master of your energy. You're the
Yes.
You're the
Yes.
master of your energy. That's the bottom line. And actually, you're responsible with it, what you do with it. So
Yes.
it's your responsibility. And that the more that you realize that, and when we realize and know and work with energy, we know that when we come together with people, you know, our energy fields merge, especially people that are awake and aware, and they're radiating their bliss, they're radiating their love, they're radiating their vibration, and all of that. When we come into another person's energy field that has had that, then that there's a merging also taking place. And so taking extra care of yourself to make sure that your energy field is clean and pure, that it stays clean and pure. There's things that you can do as a master of your own energy field, a master of your own tree of life, a master of your own body.
I'm reminded a little bit about responsibility for your own emotional field.
Yes.
Everybody has the right to feel anger or any particular emotion they want to have, but that doesn't mean they have the right to project that anger onto other people.
Yeah.
So the same way, everybody has the right to take into their physical form whatever they want to choose to do, or whatever they think is best for them. But that doesn't mean at the same time that they're not also responsible. So everybody has to take their own choices and be responsible at the level they can be. And we're happy to send love and light to all of them.
Exactly. I mean, isn't that what Source does? Isn't
Yes.
that, I mean, come on. It's, isn't that what Source does? Isn't that what Jesus would do? Isn't it what God would do? Isn't it what Buddha would do? Isn't it what any of the masters that would do? They would bring love. They would send love.
Yes.
And, and I thought about it like this. Would Source take the jab? Would Jesus take the jab? No.
All of these
No.
would say the kingdom, the peaceful place, the healthy place is within you. And when you build that through your trust, your gratitude, your love, you're going to be perfectly safe.
I want to say this too, that, I'm not at all saying, the people that have made the choices that are in my life, that have chosen, and the people that, the audience that's listening to this, if you have made that choice, don't feel like you're being alienated, because I'm not pushing you away at all. I absolutely, send you my love, give you my love, and hold, everyone in compassion in all of that, for the choices that are made were made for whatever reason. And, now we're here in this space. And, but you're not being discriminated against. I want to make that.
There should be no discrimination on either side. Cullen and I have been saying that from the very beginning.
It only creates separation.
And we're not in favor of separation. We're in favor of people learning from their choices, whatever they may be, as more and more wisdom comes into their field, and then taking responsibility to continue to move forward as we all grow together.
Because yes, and that's exactly, because, we cannot, again, 5D, heaven on earth, new earth, being in alignment with all of those, separation doesn't exist there. It's very clear. It's very clear. It makes it very easy to think, where am I at right now? Where's my consciousness? Where am I at right now? It's basically comes down to that. So when we realize that if we're coming and acting, living and acting, making choices from a separated place, then we're still acting out of in the third dimension. And
Right.
That's absolutely.
That's right.
Yeah. So Pia, do you want to tell us a little bit more about the calendar? We're just about ready to, aren't I good on time, Colin?
Great.
Do you want to tell us about the calendar? We're in the energy of choosing.
We're in this energy of choosing until May the 12th. That's the last day of the energy of choosing. And then we'll be moving into a very interesting energy. The 13 is the indicator of the last day of the cycle, which is May 12th. Then we'll be moving into the energy of another very interesting energy, which is moving, which gives us the opportunity to move from whatever our position has been, up or down, whether we are, wherever we are. If we need to be more connected with the stars, more connected with the earth, we have the opportunity to move, to change positions, to make actual physical, mental, spiritual, emotional movement, guiding us more and more towards peace for the following 13 days. So a time of choosing and choices right now, and then acting on those choices by moving in the direction we have chosen. It's all perfect, and it's all designed for each and every one of us to be fulfilled in our own journey and our own path, because as Cullen said earlier, we're all going the same place. It's just a matter of what choice we make, of when and how we want to get there.
And moving couldn't be more related to energy than anything else, because everything is made of energy, and energy always moves.
Yes.
Oh, that's good. That's really good. That's really good. That's exactly, energy always moves. That's it. And it's all temporary.
Yes.
It's all temporary. So it's an amazing time. It's really an amazing time that we're here. Let's keep vibrating that multidimensional consciousness, right? Walking our heaven on earth, living our fifth dimensional 5D energy, and of course, having a multidimensional perspective of more and greater, and
Yes.
evolving our consciousness, because that's why we're here.
Yep.
So wonderful. Well, thank you, Pia and Colin. It's been, every time I always think, oh God, that was so good. It's, you know, it's good every time. It's so great.
We have a good time discussing these important things with you.
Yep.
It is. Thank you so much. Thank you. And we will see you again next time, next month. And thank you to the audience for listening and tuning in. Pia, do you want to just give us your social media handles real quick before we close?
We have two websites. The first one is larkma.com, and that's spelled LAARKMAA.com. And the other one is piaorleane.com, and that's PIAORLEANE.com. And both sites will provide all the books that we have written, the articles that we have published, the videos that we have had with interviews, our personal sessions and how to obtain a personal session, whether it's a conversation with the Pleiadians or an intuitive reading or a Pleiadian Earth energy chart. All of our services are there. We have international live calls twice a month where people from all over the world gather on the phone to talk to LARTMA, listen to their messages and ask questions, which is a free service we offer internationally. And we welcome people joining us in whatever way calls to your heart, because we try to live our lives in the spirit of In Lakesh, which means I am another yourself. We don't see ourselves as any different than anybody else in the world. We are all divine sparks of light.
I love you.
I love you,
I love you, Cornelia. Thank you. Thank you for these ongoing conversations. They're fabulous, they're connective, and they're simply a good way of experiencing our energy together.
Yes, yes, I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful. I got tears in my eyes. Thank you, everyone, for listening and tuning in. We'll see you again next time. Take care. Bye-bye.